What If Goku Was in the Boys TV Show Universe Season 3, Part 7. Now, as soon as Billy Butcher got home, the first thought that crossed his mind was he needed to get some rest. He had endured almost hours worth of what he would probably call cellular torture. The best way to describe it, he felt like his cells had been set on fire, and then he was thrown into acid. And although in this particular moment he does feel powerful, but he also feels extreme exhaustion. Before Billy can even go and satisfy his need for rest, his stomach growled as if it hadn't eaten in weeks. As soon as that refrigerator door was open, he looked like a man who was looking for lost money. He went through every nook and cranny in his fridge to look for anything that was considered edible. As soon as he has all of his edible items on the table, he starts going to town on all of them, not even caring if any of the items he has is even considered a meal. Now, Billy, in the back of his mind, is keeping note that this is not something he would typically do. And also taking into account that he just took a drug that he had no idea what the heck the side effects was going to be, and chalks it up to maybe this is just one of them. It has been less than 10 minutes, and already half of what was in his fridge is now just gone. Now, Billy Butcher's common sense slowly starts to turn on, and comes to the realization that he should probably stop eating because he has literally eaten half of his entire fridge. Billy puts whatever food that is left back into the fridge and tries to get some rest on the couch. But before he can even do that, he hears thuds outside of his door. And to Billy's surprise, Homelander is standing outside of his door with the most confusing freaking smile he has ever seen. Before either one of these men actually realized it, they're sitting at a table looking at each other with anger, hatred. Is there even a word in the English language that would be able to describe how these two would feel about each other? Probably not. And as this supposed glare-off is happening, Homelander starts to notice some significant differences. Now, to the normal person, Billy Butcher looks almost identical to how he was before, but to Homelander's keen senses, his hair is darker, his eyes are darker, and his muscles seem a lot more tense. And even his scent is also completely different than what it was before. Billy starts to take notice of this, and then Homelander's face goes into one of concern, and he goes, "What have you done?" What If Goku Was in the Boys TV Show Universe Season 3, Part 8. Now, Billy Butcher actually takes a second to process Homelander's question of what has he done? And it really does put him back into perspective on the events that has occurred. He has taken an experimental drug, no thoughts on how it was going to affect him, what those pros and cons were technically going to be, and it might actually be detrimental to him in the future. But in this present moment, sitting at this table, looking at Homelander, he can't bring himself to care, because he's getting the thing he has wanted for years, and it's to put this man in his place. Now, in this moment, Billy Butcher doesn't know if he is stronger, on par, or weaker than Homelander. But a feeling in his gut is telling him that he may be on par with Homelander himself. And for him, that is good enough. Billy Butcher doesn't even bother giving Homelander a response, feeling that in this moment everything's kind of being self-explanatory. And also knows that this would probably just piss Homelander off even more. Homelander, really not enjoying this whole silent treatment, decides to speak up again, and says to Billy, "I gotta commend you, Butcher. It's not every day I find people willing to inject themselves with whatever they put inside you just to have a shot at me. Like, you really have my respects." When Homelander takes a pause, certain thoughts actually start to come up to the surface of, why did Billy Butcher even feel the need to take this drug when he already has an ace up his sleeve? And to him, it just doesn't make any sense why he felt the need to. And And then the light turns on in his head. Billy Butcher doesn't trust Goku. Homelander feels like there's a plan there. And he feels like he should just get the ball rolling. Now, Billy, I know that we have quite a bit of history with one another, but I, for one, feel that we should probably bury the hatchet, don't you think? You know, with our common friend Goku and my son Ryan. Billy didn't even give Homelander enough time to finish his sentence, because the only thought that was coming through his mind was just straight to violence. He got his fist good and ready and punched Homelander square in the face. Now, to Billy's amazement, his hand, although it hurt slightly, it didn't hurt nearly as bad as he thought it was going to. And that he made Homelander fly all the way towards his flippin' wall. What if Goku was in the Boys TV show universe Season 3, Part 9? Homelander will admit that he felt something when Billy Butcher punched him in the face. Not as bad as, say, Goku punching him in the face, but he could feel quite a burning sensation in his face. As Homelander was trying to get onto his feet, Billy Butcher was not having it, and decided to kick him straight into his midsection. And that kick had so much force that Homelander not only was being pushed back, but also felt like what was left inside of his stomach was trying to come up. Homelander was starting to get extremely pissed off at these turns of events, and starts to power up his laser eyes, ready to shoot Butcher. Now, Billy knew that Homelander was going to use those laser eyes eventually, and his only plan that he can even think up right now is hope and pray that whatever abilities he has also has super speed. Now, Billy took notice that there is an advantage here. Homelander, when he shoots someone with his laser eyes, he always does it straight forward, meaning that he does have the option to go right or left to dodge the first attack. Billy can feel the adrenaline going throughout his body, and he can hear his heartbeat. Now, this shocked Homelander, but not as much as it shocked Billy, to be able to move out of the way of Homelander's lasers within a second. At this point, Billy Butcher is just going through the checklist of his different abilities so far. Super strength? Check. Super speed? Check. And now he's just wondering what other special abilities does he have. Homelander is just charging up his laser eyes again, and then he starts blasting as many times as he can at Billy Butcher, but he just seems to just swiftly dodge away from him at every single turn. And when Homelander was trying to charge up his eyes again and trying to do the exact same thing, Billy Butcher was finally able to make it into Homelander's inner circle, and he was going straight ham on Homelander, literally grabbing his arm and punching him repeatedly in the face. And he does so with such a joyous look on his face. Homelander is also giving Billy a couple of punches straight to the jaw, and he is trying to make sure that Billy feels just as much pain as he's feeling right now. Now, Homelander tries to recharge his laser eyes and shoot Billy directly into the face, but before he can do that, Billy grabs Homelander by the head and then smacks his forehead right at the bridge of Homelander's nose. Homelander fell right on his bottom, and Billy Butcher just seems to be walking closer and closer to him. As Billy was looking at Homelander, he could just feel this burning sensation in his eyes staring right at him. What if Goku was in the Boys TV show universe Season 3, Part 10? Billy Butcher felt this sensation coming out of his eyes. Not painful per se, but something like it wanted to be released. Almost as if instinctually, by watching Homelander shoot lasers out of his eyes, he felt he could do the same. And with Billy following where his instincts are guiding him, decides to just go for it and shoots lasers directly at Homelander. Homelander was getting a really bad gut feeling about where this fight was heading, and it was almost as if the universe gave him instant confirmation of that when he saw Billy's eyes turn orange. As soon as Homelander saw that Billy's eyes had orange lasers coming directly at his face, he activated his own laser eyes, almost instantaneously, as if knowing that if those laser beams touched his face, that he was not going to like the results. Now, at first, Billy was the one who had the advantage because he was the one who started the laser struggle to begin with. But because of his inexperience, he was losing ground really, really fast due to the fact that Homelander has had laser eyes his entire life, and this is his first time. But even with that inexperience, he seemed to make up for it with just sheer determination alone. And even if Billy Butcher in that moment wasn't noticing, his lasers were actually starting to get stronger with him. Now, without Billy even really noticing, but his laser eyes were actually getting more powerful as the beam struggle progressed. And it's because since his body was able to learn from the experience, it kept pushing and pushing, and eventually was getting closer and closer to Homelander's face. So eventually Billy Butcher's laser eyes finally made it to Homelander, and Homelander was down for a bit. Homelander was on the floor, like he looked almost completely exhausted, and as he could hear the slow footsteps of Billy Butcher coming closer and closer, he could almost sense that it was almost his end. But not to be totally pathetic, decides to look up at Billy Butcher, at least to welcome his death with some form of dignity. But before Billy Butcher can even laser Homelander to death, Goku steps in and swats the laser away. So Goku looks at both Homelander and Billy Butcher and just states, "Yeah, I think your guys' sparring is done for today." What If Goku was in the Boys TV show universe, Season 3, Part 11. It took a couple of moments for Billy to realize that he wasn't shooting at Homelander anymore. No, he was shooting directly at Goku. And with that brought an even scarier realization. That Goku flicked his attack as if it was just a minor inconvenience. Now, Billy knew instantly, just from watching Goku do that he didn't have a chance at defeating him at all. So he needed to put this fight with Homelander on hold. It was just the more logical decision at this moment. Now that Homelander had been given time to breathe and get himself off of the floor and not having to worry about being lasered in the face or punched in the gut, he genuinely wants to talk to Goku. That was his, main plan, was to try to get to Goku. He didn't fully expect Billy Butcher to just straight up attack him in that moment. Now, Homelander wants to take a second to calm down. He doesn't want to sound shaky or scared towards Goku. He wants to sound like a concerned friend, like someone who hasn't seen him in a long time, not a terrified teenager. He looks at Goku and then just states, "Hey Goku, it's been a while. I haven't seen you at the tower in so long. Where have you been?" Goku gives Homelander a really cheeky smile and just says, "Oh, I've been hanging out with Becca and Ryan at their house. And also at this," but something stops him before he can say the second sentence. And that something was Billy Butcher touching Goku's other shoulder and telling him, "Do you remember what we told you?" Then Goku's face goes into a, "Oh," like he just remembered something. Goku looks back towards Homelander and just states that, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't tell you." Homelander didn't want to come off as antagonistic, so he just goes into the, "Oh, that's okay," but then puts in another part of the sentence where, "Would it be okay if we hang out again? I also would really like to see my son Ryan, if that's okay with you." And Billy really did not like the sound of that. Billy looks directly at Homelander's face and just goes into the, "I'm not letting you near Becca or Ryan." And Homelander almost gives an instant response to that, stating that, "I don't want to be alone with Becca or Ryan. I'm perfectly fine with them being supervised visits." Now, Billy gets this chilling sensation going throughout his body as he looks at Goku, knowing whatever Goku answers, that will end up being the definitive answer. What If Goku was in the Boys TV show universe, Season 3, Part 12. Now, while Billy, Homelander, and Goku were dealing with their situation, back at Vought Tower there was something quite interesting happening, especially between two other members of the Seven, Starlight and A-Train. Starlight has been working her butt off trying to get as much information about Compound C as she can get, but it seems like she's only delegated to rumors and maybe some loud whispers. So from the information that Starlight was able to get at all, it seems to be a bit of a mixed bag. As in, if someone gets injected with Compound C, they got a 50-50 shot about whether they're going to get a really good side effect or a really bad one. Similar to Compound C in a way in which you don't really get to choose what your powers are going to be. Starlight tries her best to get any physical evidence about what Compound C does, but it seems that any information that she gets redacted almost instantly, leaving no traces of what Compound C even does. But even so, Starlight sends any of the information that she does have back to the boys. A-Train is now looking at a poster of himself and thinking about how far he's fallen from grace, and knowing that because of his Compound V addiction, it has caused his heart to have severe health problems. So if he runs way too fast, that might be his end. A-Train knows that this is a bad idea. He knows that he shouldn't trust Stormfront at all. But at this particular moment in time, he's really running out of options. But here he is, staring at this mystery bottle of green liquid that he just recently found out was Compound C, and being given to him by Stormfront of all people, and knowing that he only has a 50-50 chance whether that was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. He looks at the green bottle for just a couple of seconds and then just goes, "Oh, what the hell."